Ever feel like you're trying to climb a mountain when learning something new or chasing a big goal?
Yeah, totally. It can be super overwhelming.
Right. And who has time for overwhelm these days?
Seriously.
We're all about breaking things down into bite-sized pieces here, making those big challenges feel manageable.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today, the power of small wins.
Exactly. We've been digging into the Morning Mindset podcast and their take on how even tiny actions can lead to huge progress over time.
It's like a secret weapon for productivity and motivation.
Totally. So in this deep dive, we'll unpack why focusing on those small, consistent actions can be a game changer.
We'll look at the science behind it, some real-world examples, and most importantly, how you can actually use this in your own life.
So let's jump right in. First things first, why do these small wins matter so much?
It's interesting, right? We live in a world obsessed with these overnight success stories.
Right, got to be the next big thing.
Exactly. But when you actually look closer, most big achievements are built on tons of tiny steps taken consistently.
It's like building a house brick by brick.
That's a great analogy, and the Morning Mindset podcast points out the cool psychology behind this.
Oh, yeah. Like, how does our brain actually respond to these small wins?
Well, every time you achieve even a small goal, your brain releases a little burst of dopamine.
Dopamine, that feel-good chemical.
Exactly, and it's a reward signal telling your brain, hey, that felt awesome, let's do it again.
So it's like positive reinforcement for our brains.
Exactly, it creates this feedback loop that makes you want to keep going.
So that little rush you get when you check something off your to-do list, no matter how small.
That's your brain celebrating a win and saying, keep it up.
I love okay, so we've got the why these small wins matter, but how does this actually work in real life?
Right. Let's get practical.
Mhm.
The Morning Mindset podcast shared some super relatable examples.
And I think that's where this really clicks for our listeners.
Totally. So first up, they talked about fitness journeys.
Ugh, fitness goals can be so daunting sometimes.
Oh, tell me about it.
You know, you set this big goal like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And then,
Dude, like, wait, where do I even start?
exactly, it's overwhelming. The podcast suggests flipping the script.
Instead of focusing on the huge end goal,
You break it down into super tiny, manageable actions.
like committing to drinking an extra glass of water each day.
Or taking a 10-minute walk.
Things that feel doable right now.
And that's the beauty of it. Those small actions start building momentum.
You start feeling a little better, a little more energized.
And suddenly that 10-minute walk doesn't seem so hard anymore.
Exactly. It's about building a foundation of positive habits, one tiny step at a time.
Okay, so fitness, that makes sense.
I-
What was their next example?
They talked about work productivity, which I think we can all relate to.
Oh, for sure. Everyone's got those big, scary projects looming over them.
You know that feeling you're staring at this massive task and you're totally paralyzed?
Don't even know where to begin.
The podcast had a brilliant strategy for this. Start with the easiest task first.
Even if it feels kind of insignificant.
The point is to just get the ball rolling.
Break through that initial resistance.
Exactly. So maybe it's just organizing some files or sending a quick email related to the project.
Anything to get you moving.
And once you've ticked that off, the rest of the workload doesn't seem quite as terrifying.
You've got that first little win under your belt.
And that gives you the momentum to tackle the harder stuff.
Makes total sense. What was their last example?
They talked about reading, which is something I personally struggle with.
Oh, me too. I always wish I had more time to read.
Right, it's one of those aspirational things, but life gets in the way.
Totally. The podcast suggested starting super small with just 5 minutes of reading a day. 5 minutes. Seriously.
I know it sounds almost too easy to matter.
But that's the point. It's such a low bar that it's easy to stick with.
You're not intimidated? You're not making a huge commitment.
And over time, that 5 minutes can turn into a much more consistent reading habit.
You build the habit first, and the amount you read naturally increases.
Okay, I love that. So we've talked about the why, and we've seen some real-world examples.
Now let's get to the how can our listeners actually use this in their own lives?
Right, the Morning Mindset podcast gave some super actionable strategies.
And these are things you can start doing today.
So what's the first step to harnessing this power of small wins?
They recommend starting your day with a win.
Okay, so not like winning the lottery, right?
No, ha ha ha. Just something small that gives you a sense of accomplishment first thing.
What kind of things?
They had some great suggestions like making your bed.
So simple, but you're starting the day with a completed task.
Exactly, or even just taking 2 minutes to stretch.
Get your body moving.
It sets a positive tone for the day.
Okay, I'm into that. What's the next strategy?
It builds on what we were just talking about, breaking down those big goals into smaller ones.
This is so crucial, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Totally. Instead of seeing this giant task, you create a step-by-step plan with smaller action.
It's like climbing a mountain one small section at a time.
And each time you finish a step, you get that little boost of motivation.
That feeling of, okay, I'm making progress.
It keeps you moving forward.
Love it. What's the final strategy?
Celebrating your progress no matter how small.
This is so important. We often get so focused on the end goal that we forget to celebrate the little wins along the way.
And those little wins are what keep you going.
Exactly. The podcast emphasized that every step counts.
Whether it's writing one paragraph of a report or drinking enough water,
Acknowledge those wins, they matter.
it reinforces those positive habits.
So shift the focus from perfection to progress.
Exactly. And the Morning Mindset podcast issued a challenge to our listeners.
Oh yeah, what's the challenge?
They want you to pick one small win that you can accomplish in the next hour.
Something super doable right now.
Like replying to that email that's been sitting in your inbox.
Or organizing your desk for 5 minutes.
Anything to put this into action.
I love that.
Cool.
So commit to that action, do it, and then take a moment to acknowledge that you did it.
Experience that little feeling of victory.
It's a great way to see this principle in action.
And to prove to yourself that even tiny wins can have a big impact.
So as we wrap up, what's the core message we want our listeners to take away?
Don't underestimate the power of small wins.
They are the foundation of big achievements.
And they can make a huge difference in how you feel and how productive you are.
So as you go about your day, think about this. Where can you apply this principle in your own life?
What small wins can you create for yourself today?
And how can you celebrate those wins to keep that momentum going?
It's all about making those positive changes one step at a time.
And remember, even the most ambitious goals are achieved through a series of small, consistent actions.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep celebrating those small wins.
And hey, maybe this is something to think about. We've talked about small wins in terms of goals,
But could this apply to other areas of life too?
like building gratitude or being more mindful.
What small wins could you create in those areas each day?
Food for thought until next time.
Thanks for joining us.